Everyone, today I want to remind you of a powerful truth. God controls your doors. In life, we often face situations where we feel stuck, rejected, or uncertain about what's next. We knock on doors, opportunities, relationships, careers, dreams, and sometimes they don't open. Other times, a door swings wide open without explanation. Why does this happen? Because the doors of your life are not controlled by people, circumstances, or luck. They are controlled by God. We often live under the illusion that the outcomes of our lives are entirely in our own hands. That if we work hard enough, network with the right people, or plan every step meticulously, we can open any door we desire. But life repeatedly teaches us that this isn't always true. You can do everything right and still not get the job, the breakthrough, or the opportunity you prayed for. Why? Because ultimately it is God who controls the doors in your life, the doors that open and the ones that stay shut. He alone holds the master key. This truth should not be discouraging, it should be freeing. It means you don't have to force your way through life, striving and stressing to make everything happen on your own. You don't need to manipulate people, chase approval, or fear being overlooked, because when God wants a door to open for you, no amount of opposition or limitation can stop it. And when He closes a door, even if you try with all your strength to pry it open, it will not budge. And that's not because He's being cruel, but because He knows what lies behind it. And He's protecting you from what you cannot yet see. His wisdom goes beyond your understanding, and His timing never fails. Letting go of control and recognizing that God is sovereign over the paths of your life is one of the most powerful shifts you can make. It invites peace into your heart and clarity into your vision. You stop chasing everything and start trusting the one who already knows where you're going. Every door that swings open at the right time, every opportunity that falls into place, every unexpected blessing that shows up, all of it is not random. It is orchestrated by a God who is not just watching from a distance, but actively working on your behalf. Trusting that God controls your doors gives you confidence to move forward without fear, knowing that no matter what happens, He is guiding your steps with perfect precision and infinite love. It's easy to feel disappointed, frustrated, or even angry when a door we desperately wanted to walk through suddenly shuts in our face. Maybe it was a job we believed was perfect, a relationship we hoped would last, a scholarship we thought we had in the bag, or a dream opportunity that seemed tailor-made for us. And then, without warning, the answer is no. In those moments, we often assume we've done something wrong, that we're being punished, or that God is ignoring us. But the truth is far more comforting and profound. Sometimes the doors that close are not denials of your worth or your prayers. They are divine shields. God is not trying to hurt you. He's trying to help you. He sees the full picture, the details you can't see, the long-term consequences you could never predict. That closed door might have saved you from years of heartache, stress, failure, or distraction. It might have looked good on the outside but held hidden dangers on the inside. God's protection doesn't always look like safety behind walls. Sometimes it's a no that redirects your path before you walk into trouble. We often ask for God's will in our lives, but we expect it to always align with our desires. What we forget is that His will includes keeping us from lesser things, even good things, to preserve us for the best. A closed door can feel like rejection, but in God's hands, it is redirection towards something greater. He's not just protecting your present, He's safeguarding your future, your peace, your purpose. And while it may hurt in the moment, later you'll often look back with gratitude, realizing that what didn't happen was one of the best things that ever happened. Trusting in God's protection means learning to see closed doors not as defeats, but as detours toward destiny. It means believing that when something doesn't work out, it's not the end of your story. It's God flipping the page to a better chapter. Faith isn't just about praising God for open doors. It's about trusting Him for the ones He closes to. In a world that constantly emphasizes qualifications, experience, and who you know, it's easy to believe that the only way forward is through your own credentials or the strength of your network. And while those things can be helpful, They are not the ultimate determining factors of your success or progress. There are times when God will open a door for you that you were not qualified for on paper. You may not have the degree, the background, the perfect resume, or the right contacts. But somehow, the opportunity still comes to you. Why? Because divine favor overrides human standards. When God chooses to favor you, He places His hand upon your life in such a way that things begin to happen that even you can't explain. You walk into rooms you weren't invited into. You're considered for positions others worked years to reach. You experience breakthroughs in areas where you had no prior advantage. That's not luck. That's God. His favor is not earned by effort. It is given by grace. And it often confuses people because they try to measure your success by human formulas, not realizing that you are operating under a higher authority. Divine favor means that what should take 10 years might take 10 months. What should have been impossible becomes your reality, not because you manipulated your way in or impressed the right people, but because God opened a door that no man could shut. And it's important to stay humble when that happens, not to boast in yourself, but to glorify the one who made it possible. When you understand this, you stop living in fear of not being enough. You stop comparing your journey to others. You stop disqualifying yourself based on your past, your mistakes, or your lack of connections. Because when favor finds you, it bypasses the rules. God doesn't need to ask for anyone's permission to bless you. He doesn't need a panel's approval to promote you. He opens doors in ways that make it clear this is His doing. And when you walk through doors opened by divine favor, you walk with a confidence that comes not from pride, but from knowing that you are right where God wants you to be, not because of who you are, but because of who He is. There is an unshakable confidence that comes from knowing that when God opens a door in your life, absolutely no one has the power to close it. Not people, not systems, not enemies, not even your own past mistakes. When God opens a door, it is an act of divine authority, and His authority is final. People may try to oppose you. They may whisper about you, plot against you, discredit you, or even actively try to block your progress. But their efforts are futile when God has declared a yes over your life. You may not have support from those around you, but you have support from heaven. And that outweighs every earthly voice. Sometimes people think they can control your destiny by excluding you, rejecting you, or withholding opportunities. But they forget that they are not your source. God is. He doesn't need anyone's permission to bless you. If He wants you in the room, He will put you there, and no amount of resistance can stop it. And when you walk through a door that God has opened, you don't have to constantly look over your shoulder or fear that it's going to be taken away. What He gives, He sustains. His favor surrounds you like a shield, and His hand defends what He has ordained. Even if you feel unworthy, even if you face delay after delay, even if others have been chosen ahead of you. It doesn't matter when it's your time. God will open the door so clearly that everyone around you will know it wasn't you, it was Him. And the best part is, you won't have to strive to keep it open. You don't have to fight to hold your place. What God opens remains open, because His word doesn't return void. That truth should set you free from insecurity, from fear, from the constant need to prove yourself. You can walk forward in peace knowing that the doors God opens for you are secure. They don't depend on popularity, qualifications, or human endorsement. They are the result of His sovereign will, and nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop what God has already set in motion. Rejection is one of the most painful and confusing experiences we can face. Whether it comes from a job application that doesn't go through, a relationship that ends, a door that suddenly closes, or a dream that doesn't materialize, rejection can leave us questioning our worth, our purpose, and even God's plan. But what we often fail to see in the moment is that rejection is not always the enemy. Sometimes it's the very tool God uses to steer us away from something that isn't meant for us and to guide us towards something far better. God, in His infinite wisdom, sees the entire landscape of your life from beginning to end. He knows what lies down every road, every decision, every yes and every no. So when He allows rejection to enter your life, It is not to harm you, but to reroute you towards something that aligns more perfectly with His plan. What felt like a loss may have actually been a rescue. What you saw as a missed opportunity might have been a divine detour leading you into deeper purpose. Sometimes we are so fixated on what we want that we cannot see how small our desires are compared to what God is preparing. You may have been praying for something you were never supposed to have. Not because you're unworthy of it, but because it would have limited you, distracted you, or pulled you off course. In those moments, rejection becomes a form of divine mercy. It's God stepping in and saying, I have something better. Trust me. And though it may hurt now, in time you'll often look back and thank Him for every door that didn't open, every person who walked away, every path that was blocked. Because without those rejections, you wouldn't be where you are or become who you're meant to be. The key is learning to trust that God's no is never random. It's purposeful. He's not trying to rob you of joy. He's preserving it. He's not taking something from you. He's making room for something greater. Rejection doesn't mean you're being overlooked or forgotten. It means you're being repositioned, realigned, and redirected into something that fits the calling and future God has designed specifically for you. So instead of letting rejection define you, let it refine you. Let it push you closer to God and deepen your faith in His perfect plan, even when you don't understand it in the moment. Because what looks like rejection now might be the very thing that sets you up for your greatest breakthrough later. There is a unique kind of silence and stillness that comes during the waiting seasons of life. Those times when it feels like nothing is moving forward, no doors are opening, and your prayers seem to echo without answers. It can be frustrating, even disheartening, to sit in that in-between space where you've left one chapter behind, but haven't yet stepped into the next. It feels like you're stuck in a hallway, waiting for the right door to open, unsure of how long it will take or what will come next. But what many fail to realize is that the hallway is not a place of punishment. It is a place of preparation. It is where God does some of His most transformative work. While you may feel overlooked, forgotten, or idle, God is actually working behind the scenes and within your heart. He is shaping your character, stretching your faith, building endurance, and refining your perspective. Waiting seasons are where pride is stripped away, patience is cultivated, and trust is deepened. These are the moments that prepare you for what's on the other side of the door. Not just so you can enter the opportunity, but so you can handle it with wisdom, maturity, and humility once you get there. If God opened the door too early, you might not be ready for the weight of what lies ahead. You might mishandle the blessing or waste the opportunity. That's why the waiting is necessary, not to delay your destiny, but to develop the version of you who can carry it. The hallway teaches lessons that the next room cannot. It teaches you how to pray when nothing makes sense. It teaches you how to believe when everything around you says give up. It teaches you to rely on God, not just for outcomes, but for strength in the process. And often it's in the hallway where your faith becomes real. Not just something you say, but something you live. So if you find yourself in a season where the door hasn't opened yet, don't despise it. Embrace it. Ask God what He's trying to grow in you. Lean into the quiet. Let the waiting season do its work, because when the time is right, when the preparation is complete, God will open the door. And you'll walk through it not just with excitement, but with the strength, wisdom, and readiness that only the hallway could have given you. One of the most challenging aspects of faith is trusting in God's timing, especially when it doesn't align with your expectations. We live in a world that is always in a hurry, a world that rewards speed, instant results, and immediate gratification. So when God asks us to wait, to be still, or to move slower than we'd like, it can feel confusing and even unfair. You may find yourself asking, why is it taking so long? Or, why hasn't this happened for me yet? But the truth is, God is never late, and He is never early. He operates on a perfect timetable that is woven with divine purpose and eternal perspective. While you see the present moment and feel the urgency of your desire, God sees the entire journey. the people you'll meet, the situations you'll face, and the lessons you'll need to carry you through. There are some things you may want right now that God is intentionally holding back, not to frustrate you, but to protect you or mature you. Sometimes a delay is not a denial. It is a season of alignment where God is putting all the pieces in place, in your heart, in your surroundings, in your character. And just because you don't see progress on the surface doesn't mean nothing is happening underneath. Seeds take time to break through the soil. Foundations are laid long before a building is seen. Trusting God's timing means letting go of your calendar and surrendering to His. It means believing that if He said it, He will do it. Not necessarily when you want it, but when you're ready for it and when it will have the greatest impact. It also means refusing to compare your timeline with someone else's. What God is doing in their life doesn't cancel what He has planned for yours. Every delay has a reason. Every pause has a purpose. And every moment of waiting is part of the masterpiece He's creating. God is not just focused on getting you to the destination. He's concerned with who you become along the way. So even when it doesn't make sense, even when you feel forgotten or left behind, trust that God is never idle. He's always working, always arranging, always preparing. And when the time is right, His time, not yours, everything will unfold in a way that will make you say, "Now I understand why I had to wait." Faith is not a one-time act or a fleeting emotion. It is a continuous, determined, and often difficult journey of persistence. It's easy to have faith when everything is falling into place, when prayers are answered quickly, and doors are opening without resistance. But real faith is tested and proven in the waiting, in the silence, and in the moments when nothing seems to be moving. True faith keeps going when results don't come right away. It keeps praying even when heaven seems quiet. It keeps knocking on the door even when there's no response. That kind of faith isn't based on what you see. It's anchored in what you believe. It believes that God hears you even when you feel unheard, that He's moving even when you see no signs, and that He's faithful even when life feels uncertain. In Matthew 7:7, Jesus said, "Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened to you." But notice that the words ask, seek, and knock are all in the present continuous tense, meaning keep asking, keep seeking, keep knocking. God doesn't always respond to the first prayer or the first step of obedience because He is often developing something deeper in you through the process. Maybe He's building endurance. Maybe He's refining your motives. Maybe He's testing your willingness to trust Him without needing immediate answers. Persistence in faith doesn't mean begging or pleading out of desperation. It means standing firm in hope, refusing to give up, and boldly coming back to God again and again with confidence in His character. It means saying, even if the door hasn't opened yet, I'm going to keep knocking because I know who's on the other side. It's the kind of faith that refuses to settle, that doesn't accept no unless God Himself says no, that won't quit just because circumstances are difficult. And every time you return in prayer, every time you lift your head and believe again, you are showing heaven that your faith is real, not shallow, not based on feelings, but rooted in trust. Eventually, in God's perfect timing, the door will open. And when it does, you'll be able to say that it wasn't opened because you got lucky or gave up. It opened because you persisted in faith. You kept showing up, and you dared to believe that God would make a way where there seemed to be none. Life often feels like a puzzle we're trying to piece together without the full image on the box. We see fragments. A moment here, a disappointment there, a breakthrough followed by a setback, and we try to make sense of it all. But no matter how much we analyze or predict, we can only ever see part of the picture. Our vision is limited to what's right in front of us, but God sees the entire canvas from beginning to end. He sees where you've been, where you are, and where you're going. And He knows how every piece connects, even the ones that seem broken or out of place. Sometimes what you think is a delay is actually perfect timing. What you interpret as failure is really part of your preparation. What feels like an end might just be the middle of a greater story that's still unfolding. When things don't go according to your plan, it's tempting to assume something is wrong. But what if it's not wrong? It's just unseen. God is orchestrating details behind the scenes that you may never fully understand, and He's aligning situations and people that will one day make sense in ways you couldn't imagine. He sees the battles you don't even know are being fought on your behalf. He sees the dangers ahead that you're being spared from. He sees the growth happening within you that you don't even notice yet. Trusting God means learning to with mystery, being okay with not having all the answers right now, and believing that just because you can't see the whole picture doesn't mean there isn't one. When you walk with God, you don't have to understand everything to move forward. You just have to trust that He does. And when you surrender your limited view for His infinite wisdom, you begin to rest in the assurance that every step, every moment, every detour is part of a masterpiece that only He can fully see. Even the confusion has purpose. Even the waiting has value, because the author of your story doesn't write random chapters. He writes with precision, with vision, and with love. So when you feel lost in the middle of something you don't understand, remind yourself that your perspective is partial, but God's is perfect. What looks unclear now will one day come together in a way that reveals just how beautifully and intentionally He's been working all along. There is no greater peace than knowing that the future of your life doesn't rest on your own limited strength, resources, or understanding, but in the hands of a God who is sovereign, wise, and deeply loving. When you come to truly believe that God is in control of your doors, the ones that open and the ones that close, it changes the way you live, the way you make decisions, and the way you face uncertainty. You stop being paralyzed by fear of missing out, by the pressure to compete, or by the anxiety of trying to force outcomes that were never meant to be yours. You begin to walk with calm assurance, even in the face of delays or setbacks, because you understand that if God is guiding your steps, then no moment is wasted and no experience is meaningless. He knows exactly what you need when you need it and how to bring it into your life. And the best part is, He's not just concerned with your immediate circumstances. He is shaping an eternal purpose through every season you walk through. Your future is not fragile when it's in the hands of God. It doesn't rise and fall based on other people's opinions, economic changes, or your own past mistakes. He is the one who redeems, restores, and realigns. Even if you've taken wrong turns or missed opportunities, God knows how to reroute your life back onto the path He designed for you. His plans are not thrown off by your detours. He already factored in your failures and still chose you. That's the kind of security that only comes from trusting the one who holds time, history, and eternity in His hands. You don't have to scramble to make every door open or live in panic over what's ahead. If God is the doorkeeper of your life, then every future moment is under His careful watch. You can dream boldly, pray expectantly, and live faithfully, knowing that your future is not something to fear. It is something to look forward to, because the God who controls your doors is the same God who promises to work all things together for your good.